Thank you for joining me for a session of Paint Your Feelings. On today's episode, we're going to talk about unhealed emotional wounds and that dumpster fire. I love that expression, BTW. So first I just want to talk about what I want to do here today. Today I'm going to be painting through a picture of my neighbor's sheep. I hope that you find it soothing. I hope that you can paint along. I'm sorry that my head keeps blocking the canvas. I'll work on that for future weeks. But I want this to be a place where if you need to come and talk through things, I am a listening ear. If you just need to watch someone paint and hear someone talk about things, I can do that. We are all struggling to some degree, and if you are not, God bless you, please give us some tips. I hope that this can be a time where you can just relax and sit back and feel safe. If you want tips on how to actually make this painting, please send me a message. I'd be happy to do another video where I'm actually talking through the process of the painting, but today we're just going to talk about some feelings. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I live out in Michigan, out in the country. We built our house about 2 years ago, and almost 3. Anyways, for me, it's been a very healing experience to kind of be out in nature. We used to live in a city before that, and it was wonderful, and I had wonderful neighbors and everything, but the noise and the chaos was too much for me a lot of the times. I admit I am a sensitive person. But yeah, I really enjoy painting. I really enjoy getting out and have been very inspired by the landscape around me. And so I hope that you will enjoy this little painting. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I have never been in classes, taken some psychology classes in college, but that's about it. But I have experienced a lot of life. I've been in a lot of different relationships, and some abusive, some toxic, and I've had to learn how to navigate that and learn from that. I praise God that I am not in those relationships anymore, and that He has surrounded me by amazing people that are lovely and thoughtful and kind, and I hope for you that you are also around lovely, kind people. So any of my thoughts today are just from those toxic relationships that I've experienced. I have an amazing therapist who has been helping me deal with some things that I have kind of had to face now that we are back around people again. And part of the things that I'm dealing with is how do you survive the dumpster fire that is unhealed emotional wounds when you have to still interact with that person or people. It could be your job, it could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be, even just strangers sometimes are just like, So I'm having to figure that out, and I wanted to share some of the things that I am learning. So some of the things that I am focusing on right now are not making assumptions. I'm trying really hard to realize when my triggers, and if you don't know what that word means, it basically means like if you have experienced something in your past that has harmed you in any way, could be big, could be small, could be anything. Everyone's tolerance is different. That thing, that moment brings you back to when it actually happened, even though it's a completely different situation. So I'm trying to be self-aware that when I start panicking because someone's criticizing me, it's because I'm going back into time when I was in, abusive friendships or whatever, and I was being told that I was a horrible human being. And that's where my mind goes. And so I'm trying to remember, like, okay, this is not the same situation. So that's another thing I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to give people grace and space. So I'm trying to give myself space, that just recognizing that I'm in a season where I'm really sensitive and I don't have a high tolerance for things. I'm tired and I'm more easily offended, I guess you could say. I think all of us are a little bit easily offended right now. And so I'm trying to recognize that in myself, so that when I'm in a situation and I'm starting to feel the panic, I can take a step back and be like, it's okay, everything's okay. Like I can take myself out of this situation. It's gonna be okay. Because I don't want to jeopardize relationships just because I'm struggling. So that's another thing that I'm working on right now. In these relationships that we are having to work through, and I'm guessing it's for a lot of people. I don't know you. I don't know your story. But I'm guessing that a lot of people are having to figure out how to function again. And, like it or not, the lockdown really did change things. It changed people. So having to figure out what that means and how do we deal with that. And another thing that I think could be helpful, and I know that I'm going to be trying to do this, is giving myself, along with that space, just the freedom to not feel things. I think sometimes we get so focused on, I have to be thinking and doing and feeling all the things, and I have to deal with stuff, and if I don't correct you, then you're never going to learn, and all these things. When sometimes it's nice to just be like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm going to be fine. It's just, maybe you're having a bad day. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to move away, and I'm just going to go paint a little picture of lambs. Or whatever your version of this is. Sometimes just kind of being like, you know what? I'm going to ask you about the weather, and I'm not going to ask you about your political views, and that's okay. And I'm going to accept that we have very different political views, but that I can still respect you as a human being. And it doesn't even have to be political. Sometimes people are you just feel and think so differently from them that it can be hard to interact. But yeah, so those are the things that I've been working through, trying to figure out, how do we do all this stuff again? How do I function? And honestly, for me, it dates back even before the pandemic happened, because these were all things that I was doing in a way that was hurting myself. I was getting into relationships and I was trying to fix people. You can't fix people. You can lead them towards a healthy path, but you can't make them do anything. And so I was driving myself bonkers trying to be things for people that I couldn't ever be. And so that, for me, I'm trying not to get back into those old patterns of trying to save people. I can't save anybody. No one can change. You can't change people, but you can love them. You can give them grace, and you can hope for the best. What can we do when we have been hurt by someone, and maybe they don't even know that they've hurt you? How do you move past that? How do you face that person? Because maybe you can't not be around them. You know, obviously that's like the choice that you hope for, is that you can just kind of like avoid them from having to be around them or whatever. But let's say this is a family member and they're not going to change. You know they're not going to change, and they just treat you in a way that just makes your skin crawl and you feel upset every time you're around them. So like, what can you do? Or it's a coworker or something. And what can you do to change the situation? So as I talked about a little bit ago, oftentimes people are not going to change for you. And that sucks. But it's because we're stubborn, and it's because people tend to think that they're right. And so when you have people that feel like they're right, or maybe they don't even know that what they're doing is hurting you, it's just part of their personality. Oftentimes that's what's going on, is their personality just rubs yours wrong and you're like, man, this sucks. So what do you do? How do you stay in relationship with that person and not get bitter? So my go-to answer is that you have to be the one to make the change. And I'm not saying that that means that you have to be bending over backwards to make this person happy, because that's not the answer either. But it does mean that you can create a different relationship with that person that doesn't get you hurt every time. So I know for myself, part of it is just letting go of frustrations and hurts, and realizing that it's okay that things aren't going to change, that I don't have to carry it. But it's also like, you know what? I don't have to hold it in my head anymore that I need this person's approval of me in order to be a happy person, or in order to be a functioning person. It's really, it really can be freeing, and it's hard. I'm not saying it's not hard, but it's doable, you know. Another part of it for me personally is my faith. You know, when I know that Jesus is walking with me and he's taking the blows so that I don't have to carry it by myself, I mean, that for me makes all the difference. Now that might not be your personal journey, but I still think there's truth in not carrying the burden of someone else's expectations by yourself. And yeah, I think we need to be self-aware enough to realize that that's what we're doing. You know, oftentimes we think, well, they just need to do better. They're not doing it good enough. You know, could be a sister that just, for goodness sakes, every time you try to share with her, she just gives some weird answer. And you're like, what is going on? Why are you so snippy? Why are you bossing me around? Why are you blah, 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 blah? But you are holding an expectation to that person that they are going to respond to your feelings and your thoughts in a certain way, and that's not fair. We can't expect people to be who we want them to be. People are who they are. And we have to find a way to accept that while still being able to move forward and live our lives and not be overwhelmed with the fact that we want someone to be different. So I will say, if you are having a relationship, an unhealed emotional wound from someone that's in your life, and I'm not talking about abuse. If you're in an abusive situation, get out. If you have someone who's a narcissist who is telling you that your reality is wrong and who's telling you that you're a bad person and you don't deserve things, get out. I'm telling you that right now. I've been in those relationships. Get out. It's not worth it. You can't save them. But I'm talking about like a normal situation where it's just frustrating and you got your feelings hurt. If you have to be in that relationship with that person, this is something that you have to continue to do, then learning that this is who they are and learning how to protect yourself is going to be the best thing that you can possibly do. And I don't mean it to sound dramatic by using the language of protect. Again, this is not, I'm not talking about abusive situations. I'm talking about like your awkward friend at work who just annoys the heck out of you. Like, I don't know. But yeah, yeah, ramble. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is, as we're coming close to an end of this painting, is who are the people in your life that have changed for you? Who are the people in your life that you can feel yourself around? And as someone who's been in abusive friendships, I'll tell you, if your friends, if the people that you're relying on don't make you feel safe, then they are not the people that you should be holding on to. It's not fair to have the only people that you're relying on be people that make you feel like you're less than. But I want you guys to think about who are the people that you're grateful for and cling to them. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.